I stood looking at my reflection in the vanity mirror one final time. It truly epitomized perfection. Damn, God really went above and beyond to make such a fine specimen of a young man. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to IGCSE Success, your one-stop shop for everything IGCSE English. Now, of course, paper 2 is looming, and you probably want to know what Cambridge look for in terms of a successful narrative. It's like I read your mind. So in today's video, we will be looking at some do's and some don'ts, and I'll be ending the video with a narrative that I wrote last night in bed and on my phone. And in response to the narrative question from paper 2, I think it was the May-June 2022 series, the most recent paper that's available, and students were gifted the task of writing a narrative with the title cancelled. But first, let's look at my 5 top tips. Now, tip number 5 is make sure whatever narrative you produce, whatever narrative you plan for, it follows a narrative arc of sorts. It needs a clear beginning, middle, and end. It needs to have a clear sense of direction, some shape to it. No need to get all fancy, it just needs an exposition, climax, and an ending. And the amount of narratives that I've read where nothing really happens, yeah, you want to kind of avoid that. Tip number 4, avoid cliches like the plague. See what I did there? If you are going to include imagery, and I strongly recommend that you do, you want to avoid likening the stars to shiny diamonds in the sky. Isn't there like a Rihanna song that has similar lyrics? I don't know. Tip number 3, think carefully about your descriptions of both your characters and your setting. And of course, you need both. You really need to think about how you are going to use techniques and language and all of the features no doubt your teachers have been drilling into you for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years to help you bring your visuals to life. You want to aim for fully rounded characters. Think about their physicality, what they are wearing, how they speak, and how they interact with others in your story. And don't shoot yourself in the foot and include 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 characters. And if you are going to use direct speech, which again I recommend that you do, first of all, learn how to punctuate it accurately. And second of all, think about what they say and will it elevate your characterization. Hi Fred, did you have a nice weekend? Yeah, it was okay. It's going to do nothing to develop your characters in your story. So think really carefully about the words that you include in any narratives that you write. And of course, for both setting and description, your language or vocabulary is key. Think about what adjectives are going to come before your nouns. Think about what adverbs you are going to use to modify your verbs. And don't overdo it with the metaphor, similes, personification, onomatopoeia. I think word choices are far more powerful. Precise word choices. Tip number 2, write from personal experience. And I cannot stress this enough. Cambridge say it every single year. If you look back on all of the videos I've done about narrative writing, I always bring this to the forefront. But remember, a bit, a dollop, a smidgen of poetic license never hurt anyone. Take something that you have been through or experienced and adorn it with a few extra details to make it super interesting. And not to sound like a stuck record, but you really want to avoid end of the world narratives, anything to do with paranormal, gruesome death scenes, true crime, alien invasions, anything about witches. Gosh, the list is endless. They just invariably end up being quite silly. And unfortunately, Cambridge hate them. Fact. And my last tip, tip number 1, and sorry to be a party pooper, but it's all to do with your accuracy. If your tenses are all over the place, if you're guilty of missing or using the incorrect auxiliary verb, if you're comma splicing left, right, and center, well, just don't forget the importance of SPAG, spelling, punctuation, and grammar. The mechanics of your language, it's really important. And whilst it's okay to make the odd mistake, your mistakes mustn't be so frequent or too frequent that they impede the meaning or effect. Right, let's look at a successful narrative As mentioned, in response to the May-June 2022 Paper 2, where students were given the task of, well, one of the options was to write a narrative titled Cancelled. Let's take a look at my interpretation. I stood looking at my reflection in the vanity mirror one final time. It truly epitomised perfection. Damn. God really went above and beyond to make such a fine specimen of a young man. I mean, who wouldn't want to look like me? Right, Romeo, pull yourself together. It was almost time for the opening show. My effortless razzle-dazzle was sure to linger in everyone's memory for years to come. Etched right into their consciousness, that was my goal. My hair was perfectly coiffed and my makeup was, well, flawless, as you'd expect. My brogues were buffed to the nines and my teeth were paper white. 10 quick push-ups for a pump effect. I was the star. With a few minutes to spare, I pulled up a chair and flicked through my school's newspaper. Dull as dishwater. Oh wait, a section about me. Only half a page? I scoffed, knowing that my face on every page would clearly get the student body reading the damn thing. Eagerly, I snatched a pair of scissors from my cluttered table and, with the utmost precision, cut out the small advertisement for tonight's show. There we go. Sticking it to my vanity mirror, I sealed it with a big sloppy kiss. You are a star. A star. A hard knock on the door preventing me from further wallowing in my greatness. I grumbled. Taking a quick gulp of my tall soy caramel latte, I pranced to my dressing room door. Romeo, the show is starting in 5 minutes. Can I quickly... I slammed the door in his face. This show was all about me, and I was the lead character. Of course I knew what time I had to be on stage. I straightened my lapel and took one final cursory glance at the script. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. That's supposed to go up. I proceeded to give my angelic pipes one last warm-up. I was almost ready. Tossing my play script to the side, I grabbed my phone and took one final selfie. Stunning. I waited. Just one more minute. A few more seconds. One more millisecond. Never mind. There must have been a problem with Instagram. I gingerly slipped my phone into my pocket and headed to the door. After quickly admiring my reflection in the shiny brass handle, I pulled the handle down. Wait, huh? The handle would not budge. I started pacing around my dressing room, trying desperately to think of a way out of this mess. I could hear the boisterous chatter from the audience, all of whom had come to see my debut as the heroic Jose. I proceeded to station myself in front of the vanity mirror. The lights flickered on and off as if they were mocking my dire situation. I let out a high-pitched squeak. One of the bulbs had blown. Great. Yes, sir, don't worry. We have our understudy ready. What happened to Ro? He's gone home sick. He's terribly sick, sir. I leapt the door, ears stuck to the panelling. Maybe my excessive perspiration was affecting my hearing. This show was all about me, and I was the lead character. Erratically, I darted around my dressing room, screaming, crying and flailing my arms. It was useless. I felt a veil of misery envelop me. It was inescapable. Soon a sinking feeling filled the pit of my stomach, and for the first time ever, I had been reduced to a snivelling, solitary child. Wiping away the goop oozing from my nose, I crumbled to the floor and somberly curled myself into a tight ball as my smartphone slid out of my pocket. Good luck to Robbie, hashtag the real heroic Jose. I launched my phone at the door and sobbed. The light bulbs flickered one last time before all but one gave up. Great. I woke up with the script stuck to my swollen cheek. Tiny shards of sunlight peeked through the blinds, making me hiss like a vampire. The door slowly opened and let out a faint creak. Clambering to my feet, I staggered out of the dressing room and into the hallway. Silence. "Oh, Romeo, I'm so sorry you couldn't perform." I clenched my fist. "Here's today's edition of the school pay." I snatched the paper out of his hands and then watched the young boy waltz off into the distance. Idiot. No one reads this rubbish anyway. Stealing a glance at the school paper, a photo of Robbie as heroic Jose adorned the front page. Last minute cancellation sets Robbie up for stardom. You've got to be kidding me. And there you have it, my 5 top tips, a successful narrative. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, join the Discord server and all of that. And good luck with your paper 2. Until next time, bye-bye.